Hey everyone, this is Kandace and Sher with Processing Trauma Out Loud. Sher, we're on week 3 of a 3-part series on what does it mean to be connected to our bodies, to be disconnected to our bodies. We've talked about kind of what that means. Last week, we really got into how we betray ourselves and what that can look like. And today, we're going to be talking a lot about what it means to honor our body and ways that we have awareness to if we are even connected to our bodies. That may seem like, how can you not know that? But we know that it's very real, that we are disconnected to our bodies and we don't even know it.
It happens a lot, even when we're sitting with a group of people or even with each other, and we say, where are you feeling that in your body right now? And how almost always it takes some little bit of time, a little bit of space to really tune in and be like, okay, because I think we carry this in our subconscious more than our conscious awareness so often. And so we literally have to slow down, tune in, and notice, where am I feeling it? What am I feeling? And where am I feeling it in my body?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we talked about some different ways that you and I both are intentional in how we slow down to be connected to our bodies. And so I'm just curious, do you want to share a little bit of what that journey's been like for you? And I kind of want to know, what difference does it make for you?
It has been a journey, and it has been an intentional journey. And I think as it really seemed for me to correspond a lot to, as I got to know my parts, and we've talked about the whole IFS model and identifying our parts and getting to know our little girl and our various little girls or teenage girl. As I have gotten to know them and became aware consciously that one of my parts in particular would cause pain in my neck to get my attention. And so I started to really tune in often to, what am I feeling in my body? And for me, I have a few practices that I do that have been really helpful. And I'll go into that in a second. But I started to tune in particularly because I didn't want to keep having this pain all the time. And so the more that I could become aware of, oh, my neck is hurting, I wonder what caused this part to become dysregulated. And so then I would tune in and I would begin to go kind of down that trail to see if I could identify what the trigger was. And so this aspect of tuning into my body has been pretty much focused on eliminating pain or trying to reduce pain that I have felt in my body. And I will just say, and you know that this is true, Kandace, I have had chronic pain for most of my life, and I feel the least amount of pain right now than I have ever felt in my whole life. And that is just remarkable to me, because most of the people at my age are increasing their levels of pain. I actually have days when I have no pain, and it is such a blessing. And I will say, I believe absolutely it correlates to me learning how to honor my body. And so one of the things that I do, and as you said, we want to just give some very specific examples of what we do. One of the things that I do is just intentionally slow down, and whether I'm sitting in my chair or driving my car or going for a walk or whatever, but really trying to notice, what am I feeling in my body? Is there pain anywhere? Where is the pain? And then the other thing that has been something that I've become very aware of is how often I feel trembling in my body, that now I have learned really correlates to levels of anxiety. And so when I tune into that also and discover what's going on that is kind of behind that, it can help me. Then I'll go through some kind of rituals of breathing, or I have a few little practices that I do that can help reduce the level of anxiety that I feel in my body. So, yeah,
Yeah.
those are a couple of things that come to my mind.
Well, as I'm listening to you, I'm aware that you're very intentional and serious about this because I want to say this, and I think you did mention this in the last episode. You're not saying that all physical pain is coming from a dysregulated body stemming from old wounds.
Yeah.
Okay. We are saying that, yes, sometimes it is.
Right.
So when your body gets dysregulated, which is stressed, and you have all these chemicals, it's actually manifesting in your neck.
Yeah.
And so you have chosen not to go cover that up per se. And you know what? Hey, sometimes we do. Sometimes we have to.
Yep.
But you're also like, okay, so maybe you will take Advil or whatever. I don't know. But you're also saying, I believe that there's more going on here.
Yep.
And because you slowed down to say, wait a minute,
Yep.
I want to really get to the root of this. You've discovered ways to deal with that pain in a way that you're getting to the root and you're seeing beautiful results from that.
Absolutely. I literally used to take painkillers 2 or 3 or 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I generally do not take painkillers anymore. It's very rare that I will take a painkiller now because when I notice that I have pain, I become an investigator and I listen to my body. I go to my parts and I look for the moments that some kind of dysregulation happened. And we've talked about this so often, but I want to just mention that we can get dysregulated from a smell.
Mm-hmm.
We can get dysregulated from a tone of voice. We can get dysregulated by listening to a podcast and somebody uses a particular word or a phrase or an example, or we can get dysregulated because there's a very loud noise that happens outside of our window that triggers a memory that maybe we're not even consciously aware of. So the things usually that cause us to get dysregulated are triggering something in our subconscious. Then if we can become aware of the pain or whatever is the red flag that's waving, when we can become aware and then track it back, if we take that time to slow down and listen, I have discovered that my body will let me know what happened. And then when I become aware of what it was that happened, then I can bring care. And usually it's to my younger self that got scared in some way. And then when I can bring care there and just slow things down, take some breaths, it's pretty amazing how very, very often the pain in my body within,
I've seen it with you.
Within 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, the pain will literally be gone or greatly reduced. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've witnessed that with you. And, I want to just take a minute and say, okay, so dysregulation often comes with the feeling of fear, shame, threat. It's what brings up our defenses, our protector parts. And so that is going to look different for everybody according to the particularities of their stories. So I know most of our listeners understand that, but for some reason, if there's just someone new, like this is what dysregulation does. It causes us to be on high alert, and we usually will have those protector parts show up. But for me, one thing that I've been more intentionally practicing in the last few years is there's something about me just getting horizontal. Like I'll either lay on my couch or I'll lay in my bed and I will just say, I'm listening. I'm here. Like it's just a very preemptive practice that I do. I don't do that just because I'm dysregulated. I create space to do that, to just check in with myself. And then now I can do that when I'm dysregulated. The other thing that we talked about, exercise makes me realize I feel more connected to my body. But you know what? Even in my exercise, I'm being more intentional to notice how my body feels when I'm exercising. It's so funny because okay, so I I sometimes have a hard time. So I'm meeting with a trainer one day a week, and I have a hard time. Okay, you got to do the move right, have the correct form. You have to breathe right, and then I have to count how many reps. This feels very challenging for me. So I've told my trainer, listen, I will focus on doing the move right and I will focus on breathing, but you've got to let me know how many reps.
Yep. Good.
And so, but there's something that is very good for me in that space to just become that aware of my
Yeah.
body because I've been so disconnected from it.
And I even love the way that you are asking for help. And this is another thing that you and I do a lot. If we're dysregulated or we have pain, or we'll call each other, and just through conversation and asking a few questions, we help each other honor our bodies. Sometimes we'll say to each other, wow, can you just slow down for a while? Can you lay down? Can you take some time? And, I think we do need, community is so important. And
Mhm.
so we really help each other a lot to tune into our body, just like what you're doing with your trainer, but,
Yes.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about one more thing before we close out here. It's this honoring our body in the context of safe and healthy relationships. Now, I've heard this said before and I agree with it. Some people have a tendency to stay too long in a conflict, and some people have a tendency to leave too soon.
Mm.
Okay. So we're really looking at anxious attachment or avoidant attachment. So the anxiously attached person will not be listening to their body because they're in high levels of stress to need that interaction and that connection, even if it's causing pain and suffering. And the avoidant person, they'll be in high levels of stress to need to get away to find a level of safety in their bodies. Okay. But I want to say that this is a very beautiful thing to be intentional about is start to become aware of what is your window of tolerance. Are you staying too long or are you leaving too soon? No shame in either response. And I'm not going to turn this into a coaching session, but this is what our coaching sessions entail. We help each other and other women and ourselves know how to grow that window of tolerance to maybe leave a little bit sooner or maybe be able to stay a little bit longer. That's honoring our body.
Yes, and how often we need somebody else to help us do that. I mean, you just mentioned it, and I just went through a kind of an intensive the last week where I met with my coach for a period of time, and my window of tolerance has been expanded because of that, because we were able to stay in it longer without me just getting so dysregulated that I dissociated. And so now my capacity is bigger. And this is one of the ways that I honored my body. I knew that my body, typically when I go into some of my stories, my body gets so dysregulated that I can't stay in conscious awareness. I have to just shut it down. So, but by having help, I could stay in it longer. And so often we need help because we carry so much of what goes on in our body subconsciously. And so that's really what we're talking about here today is we honor our bodies when we become more consciously aware of what our body is feeling and what our body is needing. And then when we turn toward our own body, which especially when we have had childhood trauma, we couldn't. We had to just do what we had to do to survive. And so we learned very well how to disregard our body and just let our body come along. But we were focusing on, what do I need to do just to stay alive here, just to survive? And now we can come back and say, okay, I want to put some conscious awareness here. Yeah, it's so good.
I'm imagining maybe someone saying, well, why are you telling your stories if they're dysregulating you? Okay. And so here's what I want to say. Because what stays hidden does not heal. And so the courage that it takes for you to risk what's going to happen when you bring those stories into the light, right? Is the work.
Yeah.
To where you have a qualified listener that can actually not demand that you stay present when you need to pull back.
Yeah.
But also to just continue to invite you as you can. So it is the child that did not receive any care after a traumatic event.
Yeah.
This is the work, and this is the healing. And I want to say the work works.
Yeah. And honoring our body is a part of this that we will really be held back if we don't place some focus here. But once we begin to place focus here, it just becomes a part of life that then we really begin to reap some very good benefits from it. And now I love to honor my body. I love to tune in, and I love to offer good care. And it's life-changing in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. I think I almost have another podcast going on in my mind right now, because I really feel like I want to say this. Listen, completely understand not wanting to share stories going back to the past. But if you have this belief system that I don't need to share my stories, I don't want to share my stories, we get it.
Yeah.
But then you notice all these things about your life that feel heavy or burdensome, or addiction or anger issues. So this is untold stories coming out sideways.
Yeah.
And I just, I almost want to cry right now, because I'm not shaming anyone for being there. I've been there.
Yeah.
But there is no freedom until something is brought into the light.
Yeah.
And not just a light that looks like a light. We're talking about the light of powerful love, transforming love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's absolutely true, Kandace. And it is, as we have said so many times, the most life-changing thing that we have experienced in our pretty long lives has been when we are able to expose our deepest places of shame to eyes of love that just stay with us and usher us through. And it's amazing and beautiful and healing, and so much of what our body, soul, and spirit absolutely longs for.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I have to say I chuckled there, because I like the way you said our pretty long lives. We're getting old.
but we're not acting old.
No, we're coming more alive.
We are more playful, more curious, more full of desire, more free. I mean, it's someone asked me the other day, if you could go back to one place of life, where would you go? I said, oh, I like where I am today.
I love that, Sher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that feels so sweet to hear. And I believe you. I see it.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we're going to wrap up this 3-part series on being connected to the body. We want to invite our listeners for any type of engagement. I didn't talk to Sher about this, so she may, I don't know. We'll just see. But we're going to schedule a Facebook Live here in the next month or two. So
let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good, friend. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you too, Kandace. Love you.
Love you.